Hello, everybody. Welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you today on WJOPLP Newburyport at FM 96.3 on Channel 9, and will be available on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube station at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and I'm delighted to tell you that today we're going to be talking about the Newburyport Choral Society's annual winter concert, which will take place on Saturday, December 14th at 7:30 and Sunday, December 15th at 2:30 p.m., both concerts at the Knock Middle School Auditorium at 70 Low Street. The concert's title is Luminous Night, and we'll learn more about the work supplying that title from two of the North Shore's brightest musical luminaries, whom I get to talk with today. Dr. Minji Kim is here. She's music director of the chorus. Minji, welcome, and thank you for taking time to visit us.
Thank you for having me.
And Penny Lazarus is here. She's membership director and alto section leader, and she's been on the morning show many times, I'm happy to say. Penny, thank you once again for taking time to be here. I appreciate it.
We love to be here.
Well, I wanted to start out because this is an important year in the Choral Society's history. The Choral Society is celebrating its 90th anniversary. Now, that's a long life for a chorus. And I thought we might start just by talking a little bit about what do you think the key is to the chorus's endurance and longevity, and how the chorus is planning to celebrate its 90th anniversary?
Well, Minji, you've planned a terrific program for the spring.
Yeah, sure. I think it's incredible that Choral Society from a city that is not too large, like Newburyport size, that has been running for 90 years. That's not a short time at all.
Yeah.
And we are one of the long-standing and largest community choirs in the area. And I feel very fortunate to work with this wonderful group of people and who are so dedicated and committed to make music in the community. So I think the key to that longevity is this commitment and dedication from the singers. I think that's a really big source of this group keep going. And the other thing I would say is a sense of belonging and community. Yeah, we're a non-auditioned group, and it means that everybody who wants to sing, they're welcome to join and raise their voices and use their voices to sing together in their own community. I think that fact is just really purely special. So this group, and also it can become a really good educational resources for them too. So it not only provides an opportunity to perform together, but then it also provides a community, but then also a little bit of educational aspect as well. So which is great. And we have this wonderful program for this season, but then also in the spring, we're excited to also present the program titled Jubilant. So we're going to celebrate the joy of singing.
Wonderful.
And
with several pieces that address the joy of singing, and a wonderful pan-global piece by Dan Forrest. But I think because choral singing is the only musical art in which people who aren't musicians can participate in.
True, yeah.
And then so it's the joy of music that brings everybody together and is part of the longevity of a choral group, but also it's all those other things, because you do create a community among people that you know and love, and as you match your voices to each other, and you make friends, and there's nobody more agreeable than a choral singer. They just tend to attract people, are very generous in heart and spirit as well as voice. And I think it's that community glue. It's a really important, can be a very important social activity for people, and that has just been, has covered generations. So the Choral Society, it's 90 years under the title of Newburyport Choral Society, but it goes back into the early 19th century, and it started in Amesbury. And so in some ways we are considered the oldest community chorus in the country. if you go back to other reiterations of like the Amesbury
of that.
Singers and yeah. So.
Well, it was special before, but now it's extra
Special.
Well, thank you both for that. I think you give a great commendation for choral singers, and I'm thinking that when you have the chance to sing your heart out, as people at the Choral Society do, and I should be transparent, I am a member of the Choral Society. Maybe it makes your heart grow, and maybe that's the key there.
Yeah.
Probably true, don't you think?
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for that. Well, let's talk some about the composers and the music that people will be able to hear. Let's start talking about the composer of the title work, Luminous Night. And I've just learned how to properly pronounce the Norwegian composer Ola Gjielo. Tell us a little bit about the composer, Ola Gjielo. And Maeve, if you could put up the photograph for a few seconds of Ola Gjielo while we're talking about the composer, and then we'll listen to a clip from the work.
He's still relatively young. He grew up in New York, but he was born in Norway, and that country of his birth influences a lot of his work. He also has a huge presence in Boston. He's been guest composer at Boston Conservatory, and choral singers, choruses often perform his work. What's really cool about Gjielo is, if you think about Norway is one of the countries that has some of the darkest nights on the planet.
That's right.
And that's becoming a rarer and rarer physicality of our world. And you, Mary, had people from the Parker River Refuge talk about dark skies, right? How because of urban lights, it's harder to see the stars and the moons of the night sky. So Norway is actually a place where people travel to find the darkest sky so that they can see the northern lights.
Yes.
And the northern lights really influences the second piece that we are singing. That's the title of the concert, Luminous Night, and the Luminous Night of the Soul. And the text of it draws upon Saint John of the Cross, who I had to look this up. This would not be in my normal vocabulary, but he's a Spanish author who's considered one of the great authors of Spanish literature, and he was one of the first Counter-Reformation priests to talk about the soul. So it's really interesting that it's his words that Gjielo has picked up. And when we work on Luminous Night in the chorus, Minji has done this wonderful thing where she's broken the chorus up into small parts, and we sing in circles to each other, and there's just these washes of sound that sort of suggest the the night sky and this wonderful this wonderful panoply of rainbow colors that are the northern lights. And we're so lucky that Newburyport, we got to see them just about 7 weeks ago. Right, there was one night you could step right outside and get glimpses of it. And the funny thing about the northern lights is we just had neighbors who traveled to Norway, and they went up north, like north in Norway, just to see the northern lights. And then they came home, and we had them right there in our yard.
All you had to do was step outside.
So this piece is just gorgeous. I think the sounds are just going to wash all over everybody in the audience. And when we practiced it in groups, it just gave us all a sense of peace, I think. There's just something about those open sounds.
Yeah, open sounds among a lot of this sort of, it's not really complicated chords, but the way that he composes, he uses a lot of something called cluster chords, meaning that it's not just the simple bum 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 chords, but then like there are a lot of added notes into that adds even more color, like pastel tone color. So when you are singing or listening, it sounds like a wash of sounds, like different sounds, or like you can almost think of a rainbow of sounds, or like a mysterious, really wonderful fog that is surrounding you, and the sound is that fog. And so when you come and listen for the concert, I suggest that you may close your eyes sometimes and just immerse yourself into that sound so that you can soak up and really fully just dive in or let the sound come to you. Yeah. So
Immersive is the word that was coming to my mind as you were describing it. So, well, shall we listen to a clip?
Yes,
Why
that'd be
don't we?
wonderful.
Now, this clip is by a group called Downtown Voices, conducted by Stephen Sands, and we're going to show some photographs of the Newburyport Choral Society, and we have photographer Jeremiah True to credit for the photographs we'll be showing. So let's set this clip. You get the sense of the immersive quality.
Yeah.
So, well, that's only one piece. And another featured piece is called a Jubilant Song. And the composer of this is Dello Joio. And Maeve, if you could put up the photograph of Dello Joio while we talk a little bit about who he is.
Yeah.
He's an Italian immigrant composer. He really grew up in New York City, but his Italian parents were first generation to live here. And if you think about opera, you think about Italy, and his father was a teacher of the voice, and he taught opera Met stars. And Dello Joio recounts that as a kid, he would see all of these limousines and Rolls Royces pull up to his parents' apartment as these opera stars would come in, for voice lessons with his father. So it's not surprising that he grew up to be a noted composer. What's wonderful about Jubilant Song, I did not know this. This is kind of a deep dive into research, which I really love to do, is he wrote this in the year following World War II, where everyone had this renewed sound, a sense of peace and a coming prosperity in 1946. And that's when he composed Jubilant Song.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's a wonderful piece. You can hear lots of, you mentioned that he is a child of immigrant parents, and you can hear this mixture of different colors in the piece. Obviously a little bit of Italian color, like cantabile, full singing kind of a sound, but then you can also hear really wild and bold harmonic language that we don't hear that often in our everyday life. And also sometimes this rhythm, like if you can think of our own rehearsals, especially in the piano part, there are some jazz-like rhythms as well. So to me, it reminds of a dish or food that has like a lot of different ingredients, like actually strong flavors of each ingredient, but somehow they all come together. And that is so delicious. So it sounds like that to me. And I would say I think this has been one of the most challenging but also rewarding pieces that we've worked so far this semester, and I'm just excited to share that with the audiences. And this quote I got from another interview that he had, Dello Joio had, with Bruce Duffy, who is a Chicago area classical radio person. And in the interview, he said, Dello Joio said, from having been an organist, so he was an organist for a long time, and growing up in a choir loft all my life and dealing with voices, I feel very much at home with them. The type of music that I write, I find congenial. I've written very little chamber music. I've never written a quartet or a symphony. It's not that I can't handle those instruments well, but there's something about the human voice in communicating a specific idea that I like. I respond very much to good poetry that lends itself to setting. And I think you can hear that when you are singing those texts that is perfectly set together with these musical notes that he created. Like, I think you just have to experience that.
Well, let's listen to a clip from it, because we have one. But this is also a clip of of you conducting.
That's right.
So would you like to say a little bit about the group that you're conducting, and then we'll play the clip. And Maeve, if you could show the photographs of Minji conducting while we play this clip then.
Sure, yes. This is a group from University of Maryland, College Park, and that was when I was a student, when I was a grad student at that time. And I was working with this choir and a mixture of undergrad students. And we had a few grad students, but they were all mostly majoring not music. So they were mostly non-music majors. So I had students who were studying, I don't know, probably kinesiology, computer science, engineering, anthropology, you can name it. And it was a closure of the concert actually that day, and everyone enjoyed singing this. Yeah.
Well, they were amazing singers then. Let's listen.
The way that he said harmony in full harmony.
Right. There's a lot of word painting.
Yeah.
And he uses the text of Walt Whitman called Jubilant Song. And it's this huge poem. It's 35 stanzas.
Wow.
But what he does is he picks out certain words to emphasize, and it's all word painting. Yeah. So there's this phrase, it darts like lightning, and lightning. Each person, lightning, yes. And each, section of the choir then answers, and it's very staccato, and it really sounds like that. And then there's another section where repeating, almost like onomatopoeia, listen, 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 listen.
Yeah. The section as well.
And so he unusual for a composer working with someone like Walt Whitman's words is he really picks out the ones that he wants to do word painting with in the song.
Yeah.
It's high energy.
Very high energy. And even the
It's
pianist.
high. Some of my fellow sopranos and I were saying, it's like, you start singing, it's like you're on a freight train. And it doesn't stop until the end when it has this kind of like...
And that's for everybody, including the pianist. Yeah. Like, pianist also has a really robust part.
But it's also hugely fun.
Yes, and very
fun.
to
listen to. Well, we're also singing some traditional holiday carols. Right. And so these will be arrangements by Alice Parker. So please, and Maeve, if you could put up the lovely photo of Alice Parker at her piano while we talk about who she was and what's distinctive about her arrangements of these 7 traditional carols.
Alice Parker, you can't be a choral singer without having come across one of her arrangements, right? NCS has sung her work, particularly her settings as spirituals, for a long, long time. So it's really wonderful that Minji picked Alice Parker for this anniversary year for NCS. But also, she's on our minds because she passed away Christmas Eve last year. Yeah. And it's noted because the other thing that she set a lot were Christmas carols and hymns. And so so many choruses now across the world are acknowledging her this year. She lived in Western Massachusetts. She was always a New England gal, but met with Robert Shaw during Tanglewood Summers of the summer choruses there, and then actually worked with him as he directed the choruses of the Atlanta Symphony. And so the two of them often wrote arrangements, and that put her on the map. But she's a wonderful, wonderful teacher as well. I've met her. I've attended some master classes with her. She would go and visit choruses and work with them. And what's particular about her arrangement of these Christmas carols that we're all familiar with is when she taught composition, she did a lot with what's called counterpoint, which is one voice answering another voice, almost like a round. In fact, she has entire books about how to teach counterpoint to composition majors. But what she did when she taught it is she did it by singing. So even no matter what her composition students were writing for, she did it through the voice. And in these carols, sections of the chorus are always answering another section of the chorus. I was so struck by that. So they're familiar carols, but they're set so uniquely. And it's often, I mean, the men will begin one section and the upper voices will come in and almost cut them off as they layer on top, and they go back and forth and talking to each other.
So it's like the chorus is dialoguing.
Exactly.
The parts are dialoguing with one another.
Exactly.
Well, let's listen to an excerpt from one of her arrangements, shall we? And this is the Michael O'Neill Singers, and the photos of the Choral Society you'll see are again by Jeremiah True. A favorite of mine.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and that's just one of the. There are 6 other ones.
Yes.
Arranged.
When we talk about Ellis Parker, though, it's really hard to separate from this name, Robert Shaw, you mentioned, and he had his own chorale named Robert Shaw Chorale. And Ellis Parker wrote a lot of arrangements for this group, and there are a lot of albums and recordings that are available out there, and this arrangements of hymns and spirituals and all this different music. And the color of her piece is, it's actually, when you listen to it, it sounds pretty simple, the texture-wise, but then harmonic language-wise, but then this texture or the voice leading that you mentioned, that is very organically moving to the next section that just naturally creates this wonderful climax of the work.
One of Minji's real special talents is organizing choral programs, and she does it in sets, almost like chapters of a book. And that's why the very first piece is a prelude by Ola Gjielo. Preludes are short pieces that often begin things, to come later. But one of the things that Minji always does is she will contrast pieces too, because Jubilant Song is going to sound very, very uplifting following the piece in that set of the Hanukkah song, the Hanukkah lights, which actually not only acknowledges this other important December holiday, but also those who feel maybe blue during the holiday season. We all can't be expected to feel the same way. And then sometimes all of the holiday lights and the guilt and the wrappings and the gifts cover for a lot of people, senses of loss during the year. And so we've got this set of this just beautiful. How did you come to find the Hanukkah song?
I was just really drawn to that text. Like when we are thinking of holiday season, it's very busy season. For a lot of us, we focus a lot on joy part and brightness of the part and just happiness. Yeah. But I don't know if a holiday is always happy for everybody, because there are, like for instance, like 2024, maybe for some of them it's a year of success in everything that they do, like their career, and they're joyful and their family is doing really well. Everything that they are that they did in 2024 was just filled with joy and happiness. But then maybe for some of them, 2024 may have been difficult for a variety of reasons. It could be loss of really, the beloved family members or friends, or someone that they really, they're really relation-wise they're really close to, or it could be a loss of anything, like youthful joy that we all, or it could be anything. And I think. So I was just thinking that wherever we are, like regardless of how we celebrate this holiday season, there's always this light. And I took this from the score. There's this text that says, "A row of burning candles shines light upon your face, linking you and me and all of us to a far-off holy place. But the blazing of the candles is not the only light. Look at all of us shining here tonight." So we are all lights in the end, regardless of where we are in terms of in this holiday season. Like some of us may be really just purely joyous and enjoying this season, and some of us may be in deep grief. But wherever they are, like in the end, we all bring light somehow into this world and into the community that we live.
That's so nicely put, Minji. Thank you for that. It's a beautiful poem and a wonderful story, the Hanukkah story, but it's also very lyrical. So, and I think even when you're in a low place or a grief-stricken place, we still respond to beauty. And it can lift us into the lighter places inside ourselves, and the power of music is you can share those places with other people because the reverberation, the vibration brings it out of us. So thank you for that. That's great.
And it's written by Stephen Schwartz, who's a Broadway music composer. He composed the music to Wicked and to Godspell.
It has that Broadway feel to it, which makes it's really fun. So, yeah. And I didn't know that about him, my ignorance, but I was saying to some people, this feels really Broadway, doesn't it? I didn't know. So anyway, I picked up on it. Is there anything else that you'd like to, because there are even more pieces than we've talked about. Anything else that you'd like to highlight before we finish today?
I think we want to keep those in secret.
Well, it's fair. There will be some surprises.
Yes.
There will be some fun, happy surprises, and people will just have to come to the concert to find out what the surprises are. Fair enough. All right. All right. Well, thank you both so much.
You're welcome.
And in homage to Brian Greenberg, we must again say when the concert will be and the location and how to get tickets. So the concert will take place on Saturday, December 14th at 7:30 p.m., Sunday, December 15th at 2:30 p.m., both concerts at Knock Middle School Auditorium at 70 Low Street in Newburyport. And for information, you can visit newburyportchoralsociety.org/events. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
All right.
And also we have a new website, and it's much easier to navigate. And while you go to the website to purchase tickets, there's also a place, if you're interested in more information about joining to sing, you can fill out a sheet, an information sheet, and we will get back to you.
Yes, because
coming to
spring
join.
is coming.
Yeah. There will be a little bit of sing-along as well, so I hope that you come and enjoy. And,
yes.
That's right, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I want to express thanks to Jeremiah True for the photography reviews today, and a shout out to Media Director Brian Greenberg for all of his work. Helping to make arrangements for this program. So thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
And Minji and Penny, thank you both so much
welcome.
for taking time to visit the morning show
Thank you.
and for sharing so many fascinating stories about the composers and information for educating us about what makes this music so special. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having
That's
us.
it for today, everybody. Please join us again next Thursday at 9 for the morning show. Until then, everybody, be well and find some place to sing your heart out.